Ronan didn't sleep that night. The sword lay across his lap as he sat beside a dying campfire. The alien girl slept close to him, wrapped in a blanket of leaves. Her name was Kilira. She hadn't said much, but her eyes said enough: grief, fear, and something else he couldn't read. The sword glowed faintly in the darkness. It hummed when he held it. Felt alive. Too alive. Ronan had carried many weapons in his life, but this thing was different. It wasn't just a tool. It was watching him. Before dawn, movement came from the shadows. A soft whistle. Then voices. Ronan stood, sword in hand. Figures appeared, tall, armored, and fast. They weren't enemies, not exactly. Their armor was ceremonial, marked with symbols that matched Kilira's clothes. They didn't attack. They bowed. To him. Ronan looked confused. What's going on? One of the warriors stepped forward. She had silver hair and gold tattoos on her arms. Her eyes scanned him, then the sword, then Kilira. You have taken the blade of vow, she said. You are now her bound one. Ronan blinked. Wait, her what? The woman didn't answer. Instead, they took him and the girl through a hidden path. Hours passed. Ronan said nothing. He didn't like being a prisoner again, but Kilira held his hand now. She trusted them, so he stayed silent. Soon, they reached a great stone city, carved into a mountainside. Towers rose from the cliffs like blades piercing the sky. Hundreds of eyes watched him as they entered. At the center of the city stood a circle of elders, old, wise-looking aliens, cloaked in flowing robes. Kilira ran to one of them, an old woman with eyes like ice. They touched foreheads. The elder looked at Ronan. You carry the sword of her mother, she said. That means the bond is sealed. What bond? Ronan snapped. Look, I only took the sword because she gave it to me. I didn't sign up for any ritual. The elder's voice turned cold. You took the sword. In our law, that means you accepted the soulbind. It is not a choice. Ronan's grip tightened. And if I refuse? Another elder stood. Then you will be executed, and the child will be left unguarded. Ronan felt the world spin. He didn't ask for this. He didn't want to be anyone's protector, or husband, or legend. He just wanted to survive. But then Kilira stepped forward. Her voice was quiet but strong. He saved me. He didn't run. I choose him. The silence in the room deepened. Later, in a private room, Ronan sat on a balcony, looking over the alien city. Kilira sat beside him, silent. Did you know this would happen? He asked. She shook her head. No, but the sword chooses. And now so must you. Far above them, the stars blinked like silent witnesses. And in a deep vault below the temple, a sealed door opened for the first time in centuries. Something ancient had awakened, and it was coming. The mountain winds howled as Ronan stood at the edge of the stone platform, the alien city glowing behind him. His fingers gripped the strange sword tighter every time he looked at it. The blade was smooth, glowing softly with a silver-blue hue. It felt like it belonged to someone greater than him, someone braver, someone born for this world. He wasn't that man. Not yet. Below him, the clan gathered, warriors, elders, workers, even children. They stared up at him with silent judgment. The outsider, the sword-bearer, the bound one. He was supposed to train with them, learn their ways, prove himself. Ronan didn't know their ways. He knew bullets, steel, war, not ritual combat or sacred vows. You shouldn't hold it like that, said a voice behind him. He turned. Kilira approached with a slight smile. Her wounds had mostly healed now, though her eyes still carried the weight of her mother's death. She was different from other girls he had known, quieter but not weak. She had a fire in her that hadn't gone out even after everything she'd lost. It's not a weapon, she said softly. It's a bond. I'm not looking for a bond, Ronan muttered. She tilted her head. You already have one. Soon after, the training began. The clan's warriors circled him in the courtyard. All of them towered over Ronan. He was stronger than most humans, but these aliens were something else. Faster. more agile. Years of tradition in every move they made. He fought with the sword, but it didn't obey him yet. Pulsed. It resisted. It felt like a living thing that judged his heart with every swing. His muscles burned. His pride took hits harder than the weapons. One of the warriors, tall, broad, and scar-faced, knocked him down for the third time. He stood over Ronan and spit on the ground. "This is your protector?" He laughed. "He is weak. Human blood is thin." Ronan's knuckles tightened. His vision blurred, not from pain but shame. He got up. He didn't speak. He just fought. Again. And again. Until his arms felt like stone and his lungs refused to work. But still he stood. That night, the sword glowed faintly in its sheath, as if pleased. In the shadows of the temple, elders whispered among themselves. Some still believed the human was a mistake. Others had seen something in him, something raw, something dangerous. Far from the city, in a cold cave, a man in black armor watched a screen. Images of Ronan appeared, captured by hidden eyes. The man's face remained calm as he watched the outsider train. "He's adapting," said the voice beside him. "He's not ready," the man replied. "Yet." The next day the sword began to speak. Not with words, with memories, visions, dreams, flashes of a war that hadn't happened yet. Ronan saw fire in the skies, the city in ruins, Kalira screaming his name, blood on his hands. He woke up sweating. The blade glowed at his side like a beating heart. And for the first time Ronan felt afraid, not of the enemy, but of what the sword was turning him into. Something was coming, and deep inside he knew he wouldn't be able to run from it. The stars above the city had begun to fade, swallowed by the creeping light of dawn. The alien sky bled shades of violet and gold, painting the world in quiet beauty. Ronan stood alone on a high terrace, watching it all, but peace never reached him. The sword rested against the wall beside him, glowing faintly like it always did now, alive, breathing, waiting. Behind him, the stone door slid open. Kalira stepped through, barefoot, silent. She stood beside him without saying a word for a long time. Finally, she asked, "You dreamt again?" He nodded. "The fire was closer this time," he said. "The city burns. I try to stop it, but I'm too late. You're gone." Kalira looked up at him, her voice calm. "You're not too late. You're just afraid." "I didn't come here to become anyone's savior," Ronan replied. "I didn't even come here by choice. I was supposed to die in that war. But your mother handed me that sword and now, I'm trapped." She didn't argue. She didn't try to convince him. Instead, she turned her back to him and whispered, "You're not trapped, Ronan. You were chosen. There's a difference." Later that day, Ronan was summoned by the High Council. The room was darker than before, lit by floating crystals that pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. The air felt heavier. One of the elders stepped forward. "It is time." "Time for what?" Ronan asked, already tired of the riddles. "The binding. You have carried her mother's blade for more than one moon. You have defended the heir. The blade has accepted you. Now the clan must." "What does that even mean?" he snapped. "It means," another elder said with quiet certainty, "you must take her hand, or leave this place in chains." Ronan felt the room close in around him. "You're saying I either marry her or die?" "No," said a voice from the corner. Kalira stepped into the light. "He doesn't die. If he refuses, I will let him go." The elders gasped. It was a break in custom, an insult to tradition. But she didn't care. "I don't want a forced bond," she said. "Not like the ones our ancestors made. If he chooses to stay, it should be because he wants to, not because you threaten him." Silence fell. Ronan looked at her. She wasn't begging. She wasn't afraid. She was offering him freedom even if it broke her own heart. And that scared him more than anything. That night he didn't sleep. He sat in the quiet gardens alone, staring at the sword. The dreams had stopped, replaced now by silence. But silence wasn't peace. It was waiting. Suddenly, alarms rang through the city. Ronan grabbed the sword and ran. Flames rose in the distance. A village on the edge of the valley was under attack. Raiders, machines, fire. Without thinking, Ronan charged into battle. The sword moved with him now, clean and deadly. He cut through the metal beasts like they were made of air. The warriors around him saw him not as an outsider, but as a brother. They won the battle, but not without cost. As the fires were put out and the wounded treated, a scream shattered the quiet. "Where is Kilira?" Ronan froze. He dropped the bloodied sword. She was gone. No signs, no trail, no witnesses. Only a mark burned into the stone wall of her chambers, the symbol of a rival clan. Ronan stared at it, his fists shaking. He hadn't made his choice in time. Now the world would make it for him. And it had taken her. The city was too quiet. Not the kind of silence that comes with peace, but the kind that feels heavy, like something was missing, something stolen. Ronan stood in the middle of Kilira's empty chamber. The fire in the corner had long since burned out. Her scent still lingered in the room, earth and silver flowers. Her cloak lay folded at the foot of her bed. She had meant to return, but she hadn't. The sword leaned against the wall, cold and still for the first time in days. It hadn't glowed since she vanished. Like it was grieving too. Ronan hadn't spoken since the night she disappeared. Not to the elders. Not to the warriors. Not even to the sword. He just stood there, staring at the burned mark left behind by whoever took her. A perfect circle with a jagged edge, like a shattered moon. It was more than a symbol. It was a message. She wasn't stolen by strangers. She was taken by a rival clan, one that had once tried to destroy Kilira's people generations ago. The Sword War, they called it. A brutal history Ronan barely understood. But now it was his problem. No one had seen them coming. No alarms were triggered. No guards had fought. That meant one thing: someone inside the city had helped them. The council wanted to wait, plan, negotiate. Ronan didn't. He waited until nightfall. Then he vanished. No guards saw him leave, but the sword did. It followed him like a shadow, no longer glowing, but no longer resisting. He moved through the forest without rest, tracking broken branches, heat trails, scattered drops of blood. He found where the enemy ship had landed. And more importantly, he found the wreckage of one of their drones. They hadn't expected him to follow. That was their mistake. 2 nights passed. Ronan didn't sleep. Not really. He ate dried roots and drank from icy streams. He didn't care. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Kilira's face. Every time he stopped, he heard her voice in the wind. He was losing time. And time was killing her. He reached the dark lands by the 3rd day. The sky above this part of the world always stayed red. Dust storms swept the cliffs. Towering statues of alien kings stared down at him with hollow eyes. There, hidden in a deep valley, he found it. A black fortress of stone and metal. Kilira was inside. He didn't wait for a plan. Or backup. He didn't wait for the sword to glow again. He simply walked in. The first guard didn't even see him coming. The second barely got a sound out. Ronan moved like a ghost, silent but furious. He wasn't just fighting to survive now. He was fighting for something he couldn't live without. The deeper he went, the stranger the place became. Old technology hummed behind cracked walls. Alien machines twitched in stasis. This wasn't just a prison. It was a relic. A forgotten empire still breathing through wires and silence. Then he heard her. A soft voice. Weak, but real. Kilira. He followed the sound to a wide hall glowing with red light. There, at the far end, she stood, trapped behind a field of energy, bruised but alive. Her eyes widened when she saw him. Ronan! But before he could step forward, someone else entered the room. A tall figure in dark armor, with a sword much like Ronan's, only black and burning with crimson light. "So," the man said, smiling coldly, "the outsider has come to claim what he doesn't deserve." Ronan raised his blade, now humming softly again in his hand. "I didn't come to claim anything," he growled. "I came to take her home." The man drew his own sword. Then you'll have to earn her. And just like that, the hall went silent again, except for the sound of two swords, waking from their long sleep. Dust hung in the air like slow-moving ash, catching the red light from the energy walls that caged Kalira. Her eyes were wide, not with fear but with warning. She wasn't looking at Ronan. She was looking at the man across from him, the challenger. He was taller than Ronan, broader. His armor bore the sigil of a fallen bloodline. His eyes were unreadable, black, flat, and full of something ancient. His sword, shaped like Ronan's but darker and breathing with pulsing red light, rested in his hand like it had grown there. "You don't know what you're carrying," the man said, circling slowly. "That blade you hold, it's not a gift, it's a sentence." Ronan didn't move. His fingers tightened around the hilt. He felt the sword's heartbeat echo in his own chest. "If you want her," the man said, gesturing toward Kalira, "you'll have to prove you deserve her. Not to me, to the sword." "I didn't take it for her," Ronan said calmly. "I took it because someone asked me to protect a child. Now that child stands caged while murderers wear tradition like armor." The man grinned. "You speak like you understand our ways." "I don't," Ronan replied. "And I don't care." The red blade came first, fast, brutal, and loud. It cracked through the air, sending a burst of heat across the floor. Ronan ducked, rolled, and brought his own sword up in defense. Sparks flew on contact. Not metal on metal, something deeper. Soul on soul. The sound echoed through the hall. Kalira flinched behind her shielded prison, her hands flat against the barrier. "No," she whispered, voice trembling. "Not here. Not that sword." The two warriors moved like fire and shadow. Ronan was lighter, quicker, using instinct more than skill. The other man fought like the blade was part of his body. For every hit Ronan blocked, two more came. But the sword began to shift, pulsed, guided him, not like a weapon but like a voice. Left, duck, now. And Ronan obeyed. Blades clashed again. This time, Ronan didn't just block. He struck back. Sparks danced across the floor. The enemy stepped back, surprised, just a fraction, but it was enough. Ronan pressed forward, swing after swing, pushing the dark knight back toward the edge of the hall. Every movement was clearer now. Every breath measured. The sword no longer resisted him. It flowed. But just as victory neared, the enemy spoke something in an old tongue. The red sword screamed, its glow bursting outward in a wave of heat that knocked Ronan to the ground. He slid across the stone, dazed. Blood trickled from his lip. The man stalked forward, sword raised. "You're not strong enough," he hissed. "You're just a human. You bleed. You break." Ronan got to his knees, coughing. His sword pulsed weakly beside him. Then Kalira called out, not to him, to the sword. She spoke the words her mother had once spoken, old ones, sacred ones. The blade heard. It surged in Ronan's hand. Light burst from the hilt, wrapping around his arm, his chest, his spine. Not armor, but memory. The memories of warriors before him, of guardians long dead. He rose slowly. The man's red sword trembled for the first time. Ronan didn't yell. He didn't roar. He just moved. The final strike was clean. The dark sword shattered. Its pieces dissolved before they touched the ground. The man gasped, stepping back as his own power drained from him like smoke in the wind. He fell without a word. Ronan stood over him, breathing hard. Then he turned to Kalira. He placed his hand against the barrier. It lowered for him now. The sword had decided. She fell into his arms. Neither spoke. They didn't need to. Behind them, the fortress lights began to flicker. Something deeper had been awakened by the duel. Something older than bloodlines and traditions. Something watching. And in the cold silence that followed, a whisper slipped through the shadows. The sword has chosen, but so has the enemy. The sky cracked open. Clouds tore apart like old cloth, revealing something massive above the horizon. Dark, silent, impossible. A fleet of ships, not like the raiders or the rival clans, but something older, colder, and hungrier. The Empire had come. They hadn't cared about the war between clans. Not until the sword woke up. Not until a human touched it. And now, they were here to erase what they feared. Ronan stood at the gates of the mountain city, Kalira beside him. Her hand was in his. Neither of them spoke as the ground trembled beneath their feet. People around them packed supplies, sharpened blades, lit sacred fires, whispered prayers to ancestors who never answered. The council had already voted. The city would fall. They had seen the size of the fleet, the firepower, the precision. They wanted to evacuate, scatter, hide in the forests, pray to be forgotten. But Ronan didn't come this far to run. I know what I saw, he told them. In the dreams, in the sword. This city stands not because it is strong, but because someone made a choice not to leave it behind. The elders looked at him, uncertain. Then Kalira stepped forward. He didn't ask to be part of our story, but he is. And if he stands and fights, so will I. So will we all. They didn't cheer. This wasn't a victory, but they stayed. By nightfall, the city was ready. Not perfect, not fortified, but ready enough to make it hurt. When the first wave came, it wasn't fire from the sky. It was silence. Power cut. A black wall spreading across the mountains like ink. The Empire didn't fight with emotion. It fought with calculation. Ronan stood on the highest wall, sword in hand. It pulsed now with a rhythm that matched his heart. It no longer guided him, it asked him. Every move, every step was a choice. His choice. The battle began not with a scream, but a whisper of metal against stone. Machines, smooth and fast, crawled through the city like shadows. Ronan led the charge, blades slicing through them with fire and light. The people followed, not because he was strong, but because he never stepped back. Hours passed. Smoke swallowed the stars. Buildings fell. Friends died. The sword cracked once, then healed itself. The enemy adapted, but so did they. Then the heart of the storm arrived. A ship descended, not the largest, but the oldest. A voice echoed from it, not through sound, but through every mind in the city. The sword is not yours. Ronan stepped forward. It is now, he said. The ship opened like a flower made of steel. A figure floated down, not alive, not dead, more ghost than soldier. Wrapped in armor older than memory, they fought. No crowd watched. No words were spoken. Only blade against blade, soul against soul. And when the dust cleared, Ronan stood alone. Breathing. Burning. Alive. The Empire's fleet paused. Then slowly it left. No message. No threat. Just silence. As if they had seen enough. Days passed. The city was rebuilt, slowly. Kalira was named the clan's new voice, and Ronan, though he refused titles, was called the chosen who chose. He never claimed to be a hero. He never asked for worship. He stayed because he wanted to. The sword was placed in the temple, not as a weapon but as a memory. Ronan still touched it sometimes, late at night, when the stars were quiet and Kalira was asleep. He would smile and whisper to the blade, "You chose me once, but I chose her." And the sword would glow just faintly, like it agreed, like it remembered. And far above the planet, beyond the moons, the Empire watched and waited, because legends never end. They just pass on. The battlefield was silent now. Smoke floated in the air. Broken machines and burning ships lay across the land. The war had ended, but not with peace. Only death remained. Ronan, a human soldier from Earth, walked slowly through the ashes. He had lost his team in the last fight. Now he was alone on an alien planet where nothing felt safe. His boots crunched over metal and bone. He kept his gun ready, but there was no movement. Only silence, and the strange sound of wind through the trees. Then he heard it. A voice weak and fading. "Please." Ronan turned quickly. Behind a rock, he saw a tall alien woman lying on the ground. Her skin was pale blue, her eyes full of pain. Blood stained her armor. She was clearly dying. In her hand, she held a glowing sword, long, sharp, and unlike anything Ronan had ever seen. She looked at him, her voice shaking. Protect her. Before Ronan could ask who she meant, her hand dropped, and her eyes closed. She was gone. The sword pulsed with light. Something pulled at Ronan. A feeling. A whisper in his mind. Without knowing why, he reached out and grabbed the sword. The moment his fingers touched the hilt, a flash of blue energy shot into the sky. The ground shook slightly. Somewhere far away, a loud gong echoed. Ronan stepped back, shocked. What the hell was that? Suddenly, a noise behind him. A soft cry. He turned and saw a small figure hiding near a broken wall. It was a young alien girl, maybe 12 or 13. Her face was scared. Her arms were cut. She looked at the sword in Ronan's hand, and then at the body of the dead woman. "Mother," she whispered. Ronan understood. This girl was the one he had to protect. He walked toward her slowly and knelt down. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said gently. "I think your mother wanted me to help." She looked at him, then at the sword, and then she nodded, carefully stepping forward. Suddenly, a loud screech came from the sky. Metal wings. Enemy drones. Ronan grabbed the girl's hand and ran. The drones chased them, firing beams of red energy. They ducked behind rocks and trees, moving fast. Ronan used the sword when his gun ran dry, and somehow it answered him. It moved with power, with speed, as if it wanted to fight. They escaped into the forest, breathing hard. Far away, in a temple deep underground, alien elders looked at a glowing crystal. "The human has touched the sword of bonding," one said. Another nodded. "The ritual has begun." A third added, "He is now her protector and her future husband." But Ronan didn't know any of this. He just held the sword and looked at the girl beside him, wondering what he had gotten himself into.